In this guide, we'll go over all of the actions that Gunbreaker learns from level 60 to 90 in order. We'll go over how each action is meant to be used and, when applicable, the recommended way to use it. We will also summarize changes to the rotation at level 70 and 80. In the final summary, we'll take time to outline both an opener and general rotation, as well as cover stat priorities. Please be aware that this guide assumes you have some preliminary knowledge as listed here. Relevant videos can be found in the description or the top right corner. Now then, at level 62, you learn the ability Bow Shock. This AoE attack's cooldown always lines up perfectly with No Mercy, so it should always be added in this window. It can be prioritized over Rough Divide due to the higher total potency of Bow Shock. At level 64, you learn the ability Heart of Light, which reduces magic damage taken by you and your party. If you see the boss start casting an attack that sounds like a raid-wide AoE attack, use Heart of Light. Raid-wide AoE attacks are more commonly magical than physical, and since it can be hard to identify an attack without trying, you should experiment with what this effect does and doesn't work on. It is always better to use Heart of Light on an attack it doesn't work on and learn, than to miss an opportunity to use it on an attack it would have worked on. At level 68, you learn the ability Heart of Stone. This works as the Gunbreaker's short cooldown defensive option. You can also use it on other players, and when you do, if you have Brutal Shell's shield up, it will copy this effect as well. Don't plan around this secondary effect, but just consider that it is there. Because of the duration and cooldown of Heart of Stone, you can make great use of it by using it first before all your other cooldowns, and then use it after every other defensive cooldown to space them out more. This way, Gunbreakers can keep at least one defensive cooldown active for minutes with no downtime. At level 70, you learn the ability Continuation. Whenever you use a step in your Gnashing Fang combo, which is now a single button, Continuation turns into an ability you can use to follow up immediately. After Gnashing Fang, it turns into Jugular Rip. After Savage Claw, it turns into Abdomen Tear. After Wicked Talon, it turns into Eye Gouge. This does not change your single target rotation much, but it does mean that you need to use this ability after each Gnashing Fang combo step. With Continuation, the Gnashing Fang combo is better to use than the AoE 1-2 combo on up to 5 targets. Since level 60, Bow Shock and Continuation have been added to your rotation. Bow Shock is added in every No Mercy window. You can conveniently weave it alongside Danger Zone. Push back Rough Divide to the next GCD to make the space. Continuation is weaved after every Gnashing Fang combo step. By that point in your No Mercy window, all other oGCDs should already have been weaved, so this should not cause any problems. At level 72, you learn the weapon skill Faded Circle, which is an AoE alternative to Burst Strike that beats it on 2 or more targets. It also beats the Gnashing Fang combo on 4 or more targets. In the No Mercy window situations where before you would simply spam the 1-2 AoE combo, you now add Faded Circles, as many of them as possible. At level 76, you learn the ability Bloodfest, which lets you instantly fill up all your cartridges, although it does require a target and will put you in combat with said target. The primary effect this has is that it makes you able to give your opener full cartridges. Because Bloodfest has a 90-second cooldown, only every second one will align with a No Mercy window. This is fine, and you should spend cartridges in anticipation for the cooldown to finish, such that you can use Bloodfest on cooldown. For the No Mercy windows, try to replace as many 1-2-3 combo steps with Burst Strike as possible. At level 80, Danger Zone is permanently upgraded to Blasting Zone. This does not change how you use it, although it does boost the potency by a huge amount. This is of course compensation for losing the cooler name. Since level 70, Faded Circle is introduced to boost your AoE damage immensely. For 2 targets, your 1-2-3 combo and Burst Strike are replaced by 1-2 AoE combo alongside Faded Circle. For 4 or more targets, Faded Circle also completely replaces the Gnashing Fang combo. For 6 or more targets, you should skip using Sonic Break, and even if you wanted to use it, it can be argued that you may find it difficult to find an enemy that will survive the full dot at this number of enemies anyway. For your opener, Bloodfest is introduced to allow you to always do No Mercy with a full cartridge. Every third No Mercy over the course of a fight, Bloodfest will be available, enabling you to use an even larger amount of cartridges in a single burst window. To prepare a bit for the level 90 version of the opener, let's go over it with some adjustments. Start with Keen Edge, Brutal Shell, Solid Barrel, and then late weave No Mercy. Then use Gnashing Fang and weave Bloodfest alongside Continuation. Then use Burst Strike, it will not break your combo, and weave Blasting Zone. Don't double weave, as we will need this slot later. Sonic Break and weave Bowshock with Rough Divide. Then circle back to Savage Claw, weaving Continuation and Rough Divide. Then Wicked Talon and another Continuation. Then finish with Burst Strike and then fill as much of a 1-2-3 combo as you can fit. At level 82, Heart of Stone is permanently upgraded to Heart of Corundum. This increases its duration to 8 seconds and adds the additional effect Clarity of Corundum, which is identical to the original damage reduction effect, although on only a 4-second duration. It also adds Catharsis of Corundum, which lasts 20 seconds. If you drop below half health or the timer ends, you get some healing. This massive upgrade does not change much how you use it, as it was already recommended that you use it very regularly. In Endwalker leveling dungeons, you may find that enemies hit particularly hard, and rather than fitting Heart of Corundum between other defensive options, you may sometimes need to combine it with one other defensive cooldown at the start of a large pull. The important part is that Heart of Corundum can do a lot of healing if you use it as often as possible. At level 84, your 1-2-3 combos potencies get boosted slightly. This does not change your rotation at all. Additionally, Aurora gets an extra charge, so you can use this ability a lot more freely. At level 86, you learn the Enhanced Continuation trait, which causes Burst Strike to also activate Continuation, allowing you to use Hyper Velocity. This significantly boosts the damage value of Burst Strike, however this does not change anything about your rotation, except for adding Continuation after every Burst Strike of course. At level 88, your powder gauge is expanded to hold 3 cartridges instead of 2. Also, Bloodfest still grants you a full powder gauge. For your No Mercy combo, this of course means you can bring an extra Burst Strike into the window. At level 90, you learn the weapon skill Double Down. On a minute-long cooldown, perfectly lining up with No Mercy, this does an astronomical amount of damage and only slightly less in an area around you. It uniquely costs 2 cartridges instead of 1. This attack should be used in every No Mercy window. You can use the same No Mercy window you used before unlocking the 3rd gauge slot, just replacing a Burst Strike with Double Down. To round off, let's look at your attack rotation, starting with an opener example, followed by general rotation including AoE adjustments, and finishing with stat priorities. Since you have access to Bloodfest, this opener will be very similar to a general No Mercy window in the middle of a fight. Every 3rd No Mercy window will include both a full cartridge gauge as well as Bloodfest. Keep in mind that this opener makes clever use of the fact that your Gnashing Fang combo is not cancelled by Sonic Break or Double Down. If you are the main tank, make sure to activate Royal Guard, and as you close distance with your target, you can use Provoke to establish aggro. If you're not the main tank, you can skip this part. Open with Keen Edge, then Brutal Shell, and if you intend to use a tincture, a so-called burst potion, this is the time. Then use Solid Barrel and late weave No Mercy. Use Gnashing Fang and weave Bloodfest and then Jugular Rip. Then use Double Down, weaving Blasting Zone and Bowshock. Next, use Sonic Break and weave Rough Divide. Circle back to the Continuation combo and do Savage Claw, weaving Abdomen Tear and Rough Divide. Wicked Talon, weaving Eye Gouge, and then do Burst Strike, weaving Hyper Velocity. Then finish off the No Mercy window with however much of a 1-2-3 combo you can fit. Whether Solid Barrel fits depends on a combination of how well you late weave No Mercy and also your GCD. You need around 2.40 to do it consistently, but may be possible with as slow as 2.45. I would personally not recommend anything slower than 2.43 though. Before moving on to the general rotation tips, let's also look at the special No Mercy window that can occur every 3 minutes. Right after a Brutal Shell, start with 3 cartridges by using Gnashing Fang into Jugular Rip and late weave No Mercy. this is necessary to fit all the things we want to do in the window. Then use Double Down, weaving Rough Divide and Bloodfest. Next, Sonic Break and weave Bowshock and Blasting Zone. Savage Claw, weaving Abdomen Tear and Rough Divide, and then Wicked Talon, weaving Eye Gouge. Now, the big finale. 3 back-to-back Burst Strike Hypervelocities, followed by Solid Barrel, into another Burst Strike Hypervelocity. If your GCD is fast enough to fit 9 GCDs in the No Mercy window, then the Burst Strike should be in, but the Hypervelocity is likely to miss the No Mercy window. If your GCD is too slow, then the Burst Strike will fall outside. Now, regarding the general rotation, which can also be viewed as the downtime. The general rotation of the Gunbreaker is mostly the downtime between No Mercy windows. This primarily means 1-2-3 combos, and halfway through the No Mercy cooldown you use a Gnashing Fang combo alongside Blasting Zone. Sometimes Bloodfest lands in this downtime too, and it should be used on cooldown in these cases. Make sure to spend all of your cartridges as Bloodfest comes off cooldown in these scenarios. When nothing else is happening during downtime, simply use the 1-2-3 combo until you have 3 cartridges, and then, just before Solid Barrel, if you have 3 cartridges, use Burst Strike Hypervelocity and continue the downtime rotation from there. The main concern is to make sure you enter No Mercy with full cartridges. It is not that important what step in the 1-2-3 combo you are in when you enter No Mercy, even if the Bloodfested No Mercy window I described before expects a certain setup. You may not have the overview at that point in a fight to get it perfect, so it is likely better to just enter No Mercy when it is ready. For AoE adjustments, on 2 or more targets, replace your 1-2-3 combo as well as Burst Strike with your 1-2 AoE combo and Faded Circle. On 4 or more targets, skip using the Gnashing Fang combo too, and fill with more Faded Circles and AoE combos. On 6 or more targets, you can also skip Sonic Break in favor of more AoE combos. This noticeably changes your No Mercy window in a relatively predictable way, but keep in mind that all your oGCD options, as well as Double Down, should still be used regardless of number of targets. Finally, regarding stat priorities. In almost every single case, item level is more important than the correct secondary stats, so always pick the gear piece with the higher item level and thus most strength on it. After that, Gunbreakers want as much critical hit as they can get. It scales far better than the other options. After critical hit, go for your preferred skill speed. While the No Mercy window may be doable with a GCD of 2.45, I would recommend something in the range of 2.43 to 2.37. After skill speed, go for direct hit, then determination, and then tenacity. Direct hit scales slightly better for damage than determination simply because tanks have none of it on their gear inherently. Aside from that, determination and direct hit do scale equally well point for point, if you prefer the fact that determination also increases your healing done by the same amount. Finally, tenacity does the same as determination, except it also has a damage reduction component. Unfortunately, tenacity scales worse than determination, and the damage reduction component isn't significant enough to matter, which is why it is last. Keep in mind that outside of the hardest content in the game, it is not that important that your gear is perfect as long as the item level meets the challenge of the content you're doing. That is all for this video. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or anything to add, please leave a comment down below. Fun fact, did you know that the new Summoner's Titan's Favor works in a way clearly inspired by Continuation? They use an instant spell which enables Titan's Favor to do a second slap as an ability. They do this 4 times in a row.